Right. Good. Right. So my name is Karen Gipple, and this is my sacred scholarship paper presentation for the 2022 NeuroSomatic Flow Teacher Training. My topic was NeuroSomatic Flow and Flow Art Dance as a healing therapy for patients with cystic fibrosis. Cystic fibrosis was discovered in 1938. It was first thought to be basically a death sentence for newborn children. They didn't know much about it, and life expectancy at that time was 6 months. Fast forward to the 1980s, and here the CF gene was discovered. There have been many more scientific breakthroughs and CF therapies that have increased life expectancy to the age of 21. This is also the life expectancy that my parents received when I was diagnosed with CF at age 6 weeks old. And it is also thought that it was a hereditary genetic disease. Fast forward to now, the discovery of quantum physics and epigenetics. We have a life expectancy of 50 to 65. And it's thought that it may not be a genetically hereditary. Because older science, we were thought to be controlled by our genes, and now we are not thought to be controlled by that. Genetic findings have created new CFTR modulator drugs that have been for treating the underlying cause of CF, which could mean longer life expectancies, but these are new discoveries. So there are a lot of unknowns within cystic fibrosis. And so I bring this quote in from Plato: "What is the first business of one who practices philosophy? To get rid of thinking that one knows, for it is impossible to get a man to begin to learn that which he thinks he knows." And so I brought this quote in because there is so much that we don't know and that we didn't know about CF. And without rethinking and the rewiring of letting go of those thoughts of what we knew about CF, a lot of these new discoveries and therapies wouldn't have been birthed. So I asked the question, are we victims to our genes? And according to Bruce Lipton, an author of Biology Beyond Belief and stem cell biologist, one who's bridging science and spirituality, we are bodies of, not victims of our genes, but that we must think and create perceptions beyond our genes. Because with those recent discoveries of quantum physics and epigenetics, we are made of energy and not a victim of our genetic makeup. And that our cells function as a community that is controlled by its environment. So if we can change the environment on a subconscious level, where our programs are downloaded and reside at a young age, can we ultimately change the expression of our genes? So Bruce Lipton has a nice quote here: "The moment you change your perception is the moment you rewrite the chemistry of your body." So my hypothesis is that neurosomatic flow techniques and flow art dance could be a viable healing therapy for CF that could potentially change the chemistry of our CF gene expression and the cell environment in the body. Through rewiring and rewriting our limiting beliefs, our mindset towards the disease, and these program downloads that we've learned from either society or our parents or even within ourselves. And I feel like this would be a therapy that could provide a fun, easy, and playful environment around these that are good for children and adults with quick results. So what is cystic fibrosis? It's a genetic mutation within the CFTR gene that affects the exocrine glands, specifically the sodium chloride channels in the body, which causes the irregular function of this channel. It either doesn't produce the CFTR protein that regulates the channel, or it doesn't, it creates a misfolding within that protein. And so this creates a thick mucus in all the cells of the body, and it leads to different blockages, specifically in the smaller ducts of the body, the pancreas, the lung bronchi, the bile ducts in the liver as well, which can lead to chronic respiratory infections, bronchiectasis, and pancreatic issues. It affects over 70,000 people worldwide, a lot of Caucasian descent, but there are others, and it continues to rise. There's 1,000 new diagnoses of children under 2 years old each year. And there are 1,700 mutations within the CF gene that they have found so far. Some that create less symptoms, and then some that create more severe symptoms. So some of these CF challenges vary. And so you can have anywhere from chronic physical stress on the body, from coughing, asthma attacks, reduced oxygen, malnutrition, and the lack of absorption of essential nutrients and vitamins and fat-soluble vitamins like E, E, and K. There's also other environmental stressors, as well as social anxieties as well. And so you can have, anxieties of physical capabilities, long-term hospitalizations, compliance around, therapies and all the medications that we have to take. There's also issues around, body image and relationships, and whether you're going to be, accepted within different relationships as well. As well as disappointments of missing specific events, life events, such as prom, or somebody's birthday, or because you're sick and in the hospital. There's a lot of different challenges with CF that come with this disease. And so what's on the rise is there are a lot of psychological disorders found in CF patients and caregivers. And so this study measured the psychological symptoms of 6,088 CF patients from adolescents to adults, and 4,102 caregivers across Europe and the US. And it found that there were elevated depression symptoms in 10% of CF adolescents and 19% elevated in caregivers. There were 22% elevated anxieties in CF adolescents and 32% elevated in adult caregivers, which was a result showing 2 to 3 times more depression and anxiety symptoms than those of community samples. So we know that there is a rise in this community of psychological symptoms of anxiety and depression and stress. So I find that there is a dire need to address these psychological symptoms at a young age in CF, so that we can have the tools needed to be better prepared for dealing with these type of stressors and environmental stressors, and be able to use those to keep us growing rather than being victims to our disease. So what is neurosomatic flow and flow art dance? So flow art dance is a dance based on the movement disciplines using props such as poi, hoop, juggling, that have been cross-pollinated with acrobatics, yoga, martial arts, fire dancing, and many other modalities. And so these neurosomatic flow and neurosomatic flow techniques designed by the NaiAsa Institute are a combination of this flow art dance, yoga, and breath work that help us to enter a flow state, which is a mental state where you are fully immersed in an activity or a feeling, and just being in that moment of optimal experience. It uses the studies of somatics, body movement, ontology, the study of being, and neuroplasticity. So how we can create new neural pathways in the brain, and use these techniques to rewire and reconnect neural pathways to eliminate limiting beliefs and restore our nervous system and balance the energies of yin and yang and the hemispheres in the brain to function more at a homeostasis balance. Neurosomatic flow is considered to be a type of juggling because of the rapid eye movement and brainwave activity that is similar to juggling and dance. And so I put this study in here, which studies the effects of how juggling therapy can contribute to improvement in patient anxiety and depression. And it examined 17 individuals with different anxiety disorders over 6 months. The treatments included psychotherapy, medication, and counseling techniques. The testing was done before and after the juggling therapy. And the last 3 months, they were separated into the different groups of juggling and non-juggling. And the juggling were using juggling beanbags as a therapy. They found in this study that there were significantly lower anger, depression, and tension anxieties in the juggling group than in the non-juggling group. And there was also greater energy as well in the juggling group. So they concluded that juggling therapy can contribute to improvements in anxiety through changes in emotional memory processing. So the rapid eye movement combined with physical movement equaled improvements in psychoneurological networks via these relaxation practices. And since NSF is considered to be a type of juggling, I believe it could be a viable option to use as a therapy for these psychological symptoms. This is another study showing how yoga and breath work may benefit patients with CF to improve quality of life and adherence to therapies. So this study, subjects participated in 6 one-on-one yoga and breathwork sessions over a 10-week period. There were several standard CF patient questionnaires following each session that evaluated each level of symptoms before and after each session. Symptoms included lung function, exercise tolerance, nutritional status, alleviating pain, sleep disturbance, and reduced anxiety and depression. They found that the mean immediate anxiety scores decreased, that joint pain improved, and that CFQR emotion subscale improved from 79.2 to 85, and it had a significant difference of P equals 0.073. The respiratory subscale improved from 66.7 to 79.2. And it showed evidence that supported improvements in the quality of life and in some cases pulmonary function in patients with asthma and obstructive pulmonary disease. There needs to be more studies done with cystic fibrosis specifically, but I do believe that it would be a viable holistic therapy option to improve quality of life in patients with CF and healing effects on the psychological factors, including the stress response in the body. In the short time of doing NeuroSomatic Flow and NeuroSomatic Flow techniques, my personal experience, I found lots of different beautiful benefits of it, as well as doing with the yoga and breath work. Open chest and airways with different ways of moving my body, which also help to move stagnant energy and clear mucus out as well. Improved posture and awareness of my breath. So how I was breathing, depth of breath, were my shoulders in, were my shoulders back, was I standing up tall, and having like an open heart. It brought more play, laughter, and fun back into my life that I was feeling very stuck in, or not in, being stuck in a stressful, always need to do kind of attitude. It provided cardio exercise and movement as well through the dance, and relieving tension, pain, and improved flexibility with stretching and being able to move my body in different ways that I hadn't moved, or different places in the body that I hadn't moved. So like the shoulders with the swimming movements, and moving my torso in different ways really helped to open up those airways and different muscles that needed to be moved in those ways for stretching. It improved mindfulness and awareness to my body-mind connection. Through relaxation, I was able to relax, and provided more times for me to have those relaxations throughout the day. It reminded me to go when I was aware that I was getting frustrated or I needed a break. I went and I did flow, and it helped me to reduce those anxieties and uplift my mood, bringing a sense of joy. I also felt a greater confidence and courage for when I was able to complete a new technique, or able to think in a different way. I felt was very beneficial. And it also helped me to eliminate limiting beliefs, or brought awareness to them that I was unaware of, around vulnerability and how I viewed my disease, and how I was brought up to think about my disease, and how society thinks about my disease, and just a lot of awareness to different aspects that I was unaware of before, and opened my eyes to different ways of thinking, because I thought I knew. And so it was really good to see different ways of thinking. Because as they say, we are what we eat, but we're also what we think. And so it helped me to work through feelings of worthiness to receive and being able to trust myself in moments of vulnerability. So in conclusion, why I think CF would, or neurosomatic flow and flow techniques and flow art dance would be a viable CF treatment. So with the flow art dance, the rapid eye movement exercises that improve psychological and physiological symptoms, provides cardio exercise to clear stagnant energy and mucus, provides opening the chest for better airway clearance and body posture, yogic breath work in a fun and playful way for children and adults. It improves emotional processing and uplifts mood, opens us up to self-expression and being able to have this sense of expansion and greater confidence, and greater body awareness, and being able to improve that mind-body connection where you're able to feel and be more in that present moment, to trust and be able to listen to what we really need throughout the day. And so with neurosomatic flow and these flow techniques, the meditative flow state that is playful. You don't have to sit still. It's great for kids, but it also puts you into that meditative mindset and relaxation that I feel would be really good for kids, because a lot of them can't sit still. It's simple, fun, relaxation practice, and it's able to regulate the mental and physical stressors of CF life better. It's known to reduce depression and anxiety, which is needed in both CF patients and caregivers, which also, I believe, would reduce the environmental stressor as well from that CF patients can take on from their caregivers as well. So many different worries and anxieties in there. And it may improve treatment adherence if done together. There's a new Monarch vest where you're not stuck sitting attached to a machine. And so they could potentially go outside and do their treatment outside and be able to do these poi movements and these different flow arts, which brings a sense of play and joy back into something that can be very mindless and you don't want to do, or, oh, it's one of those things that I have to do, you know, and changing that mindset of that. I also believe that it can help eliminate limiting beliefs around societal anxieties, around our disease, around body image, around relationships as well, and how being accepted with those, improve the stress response in the body by moving us from a sympathetic flight and fright state to a rest and digest parasympathetic nervous system, and improve brain neuroplasticity and restore our nervous system, which is a lot in flight and fright just from the physical aspects. So thank you. And that is my presentation.
Unmute. Yay! Congratulations. Oh,
Thank you.
thank you. Thank you. Wow. That was a really, really great presentation. Should we get into, you want to,
Well, I wanted to keep sharing the screen because if there's something I wanted.
oh, to go back
reference.
to
Yeah,
a slide
yeah.
or something?
So yeah, nice work on the slides. Wow.
Yeah, your slides are beautiful.
Sounds, it looks
Thank you.
you've done presentations before.
Yes, several.
Yeah, I figured that. That's nice. So, yeah, nice work, Karen. Should we move into? So
Thank
just a
you.
couple of things that I thought we would ask you about, some different details that you spoke about. I wanted to ask you, and I don't want to get too much in the weeds, but this is a general question. Could you go back to your third slide where you talked about the NA and I think it was your third slide, I think, where you talked
Yeah.
about.
Hold on, I gotta escape.
Yeah, the NA, is it, so was it the
Sodium.
CL chloride, sodium chloride?
The sodium chloride ion channels.
The ion channels, yeah.
Oh, the CF. What is CF? Yeah.
Yeah, I think that was your second or third slide.
It's the fifth one.
Oh, okay, okay.
Right.
Would you go back to it real quick?
Yeah. Oh, here. Is it not sharing? Hold on, it's not sharing. Share. Oh, resume share. No. Is
There
it
we go.
showing now?
Yeah. Yep. Yep.
Okay.
I just
Yeah,
wanted
I
to
can-
ask, and I asked myself in when I read your paper is the dysregularity, is there's too much coming out of the channel or not enough?
Oh, for between sodium chloride. So there's not enough sodium going into the cell. As far as I know, there's not enough sodium that goes into the cell. And so when it pertains to the lungs,
Yeah.
you don't have enough fluid in there to, like, it's thicker. And so like the cilia that move the debris out of your lungs
Yeah.
can barely move because it's so bogged down with like
I
thick
see.
layers of mucus
Mm.
that, yeah, you can't.
The fluid
And
helps
then
it
also,
wash it out or
like,
clean it, I guess.
for me, it varies too on mutation, because for me, there's different classes. So for me, I don't even produce the protein, the CFTR protein that regulates the channel. So like I have nothing that binds to the channel to keep it open or closed. Does that answer your question?
It does. It does.
Okay.
Thank you. You mentioned, quoted Bruce Lipton, with whom we love. So I'm not sure if you had known about Bruce Lipton before the course or
Briefly.
briefly. Okay. Yeah. So, I mean, we've had many drives where we've listened to his lectures, 8-hour lectures, where we're just mind blown by some of the things that he's saying. And so, you know, when we talk about the biology belief, it seems like the point of your presentation in your paper is that neurosomatic flow is a way to reduce stressors, meaning how someone is dealing with the fact, whether they're a provider or they're the actual patient who has CF, in dealing with the effects of having it. Is that right?
Yeah, that was yeah, my basis of of how, like, how we're taught about our disease, I guess, and how it's like shown in social ways. I feel that automatically puts us in this classification of depression, just because, you know, you go and you do these tests and it's all a number. You know, they say, oh, your lung functions at 54%, or your lung functions at 87%. And I feel like that puts us in a mindset of, oh, I'm just a number and my number's not good, so my lungs aren't good, or I can't be good, or I can't heal and be an 87%. And so that's kind of where I was coming from, and where I have, like, where this has opened me up to see is how at a young age I was, brought up in those kind of things. Because it's like, a lot of people are different, but for me, my parents wanted me to, they didn't want me to think I was different. They wanted me to live a normal life and whatever. I want to, you have to do these things, but you're not any different than anybody else. And some other parents you might learn differently.
Sure.
And so I feel like these kind of things is where I was going with it, and being able to remove kind of those limiting beliefs that are kind of core on like society and how we within ourselves think of our disease. Like for me, growing up, I always wanted to learn about my disease because it helped me to better understand how it worked and better understand how I could help myself, and how these therapies helped me. And that really helped me to like adhere to those therapies. But some people, they just don't care because they don't have, that drive or that belief that they're able to make it past this life expectancy or things like that. And so that was kind of the basis of my thought behind this.
Got it. Thank you.
I've lost the word. this topic, I think.
Yeah, you mean like just the epigenetics in general, just the yeah. Thank you. That's huge. It's so big, and there's more and more studies coming out that show us the power of not just belief, but being told something. With children, whether it's just we hear about these examples all the time about the kid who the English teacher told them, you'll never be a good reader, or you're never going to be a good writer, or you're going to be an amazing writer, right? And that is like all the difference that it makes and that it takes to basically shift the destiny of a human being, is just what they're told and how that impacts what they believe. So it's really big. I just overall, just overall with your presentation, for me, one thing that I was struck by is you have declared to us, you've shared with us that, one of your missions and your dharma, which makes sense, is to be of service and make a difference for the population, for the CF population. Today, what I get is that you actually have a second dharma. I see that a secondary purpose is for you to educate the general population about CF. I am so enlightened and I'm so grateful. I have learned so much because of you, that now I have this greater awareness and compassion. And next time I meet someone, if they have CF, I'll be able to speak to them, right? I have a new lens. I'll be able to connect with them on a deeper level. And that's a gift. So I want to say thank you. I have full body chills right now because it's really, really a gift. Thank you so much for that, because I didn't have that appreciation. Didn't have this appreciation before, so thank you.
Thank you.
Yeah, you're welcome. Okay, and then I just have these little questions here, just more like curiosity things here. In the 1980s, I love that history, that timeline. I just got curious about what were some of the therapies that came out that made the biggest difference back then?
So there was like pancreatic enzymes that helped people to absorb nutrients. There's also been different nebulizer treatments, things for asthma, the chest therapy. So a lot of people, like I've gone from just my parents having to like percussion, you know, your lungs, all the way up to like having this flutter thing that vibrated, and then like another one that you could change the pressure of the vibrations, all the way up to the new vest that you just like put on, and it's like it shakes and like percusses and really helps to break up the mucus and things. So a lot of those different therapies, I mean, improvements of like feeding tubes, if people needed feeding tubes, those have come. Just a lot of like amazing Western medicine things that have come up that do help a lot. And that's why I think, not to say that we don't need Western medicine things, we do. It definitely needs to be a complementary thing, though, I believe, because there's a lot of things that Eastern medicine can teach us that Western medicine does not see or use. And so there's a lot of CF people that are moving towards different Eastern holistic therapies because they're just not finding the relief of certain symptoms, like pain or digestion help or things like that.
Yeah. And for you, Karen, what are you utilizing some of these more traditional therapies at the same time that you've been doing the NSF training? Or, and if you have, did you notice like were you able to let go or lessen some of the other therapies because you were finding improvement through using NSF and flow dance?
So I found the most with the flow to be able to uplift my mood and bring me like out of those stressful situations or those anxieties. I found that was very useful. And I loved it because I was able to just play. It wasn't something that I had to do, or I had to, I mean, obviously I wanted to do it, but it wasn't like that mindset wasn't there of like, oh, this is just a mindless thing that I should or have to do, or it was something that I found very helpful in those situations, to not go into more of a negative mindset. I also found that it helped me to move my body in different ways. So like I used a lot of the practices as breath work, just like holding the poi and moving in those ways. So for me, I found a lot of medicine in slowing it down for me. But then I also found the joy in just being able to play and dance and move in that way as well.
And how much do you think? Yeah. Thank you so much. Definitely the movement was there, but it seems like the affirmations coupling with the mantra to rewrite, if that aspect of it wasn't part of your practice, do you feel like it would have been as powerful?
Oh, without the mantras?
Yeah.
No, I think the mantra is totally different, because, and even the slowing down to notice too, like the sacredness of it and being able to feel into my body more was the biggest help too. Because I mean, yes, the breath work is great, but I felt like doing the mantras as well, I was able to work through different things in my emotional state as well. That helped.
Yeah, the vulnerability piece got to really shift in a big way. That was really amazing to
Yeah.
witness. Yeah.
Yes.
What oh, just another, you were diagnosed, was it, can you remind me when your diagnosis was of CF?
Oh, I think I said at 6 years, but it was 6 weeks old.
6 weeks.
6 weeks old.
6 weeks.
I corrected myself there in the middle.
Yeah, no worries, no worries. A couple other little things here. This was just an observation. We don't have to get into we don't have to discuss this, but just for time, just being mindful of time here. But I thought it was interesting in the slide with the caregivers, the study that showed like there were like, I don't know, 6,000 patients and then 4,000 caregivers or something like that.
This one.
Yeah, I thought it was really interesting to see that the caregivers were the ones struggling even more. Yeah? Is that what I'm seeing, right? The caregivers are struggling with...
They were struggling more than the actual CF, which I mean, I can totally understand. I mean, it's your child. There's a lot of, I mean, CF is basically a child disease. And so, I mean, a lot of us are growing into adulthood now. So it's becoming more of a wide variety of ages, but first known as a child disease. And so, I mean, I can totally, I mean, I don't have children, but I mean, just like living with it, I can see and seeing how my parents reacted, I can see how very stressful it can be. And I feel like that is also something that as a CF patient, you take on too, on how they deal with it as well.
Right. And so this, you know, so that's probably a super important piece of when you bring this to the CF population, to have the caregivers also be, you know, have that opportunity to rewrite, you know, their beliefs and to transform their lens. Oh, I have a lot more compassion for them. I mean, and that's the case with any kind of, you know, chronic illness, you know, or even elders, right? Caregivers and but to remember that they need support too, big time.
Exactly.
Just great explanation of neurosomatic flow techniques. Love that. There was one piece though, just to clarify, when you present this to others, I think you said NSF is a form of juggling. So yeah, and then you went into the study. So how you can clarify that, is you can say NSF isn't necessarily a form of juggling, but what you can say is that, so in NSF, POI is the primary tool. Like POI is the primary tool that we use in the neurosomatic flow practice and the techniques, and POI is considered a form of juggling.
Got it. Okay.
Yeah, and then that'll be a little bit, you know, more clear, and people will be like, huh? NSF is a form of juggling. No, it's not. How is it a form of juggling? But yeah, so NSF is more of just that bigger holistic process around it. And then I think just that's
the last slide you started talking about the benefits. Your personal experience, I think, is what it was titled. And what I was saying to Jinju is like, you had about like 7 or 8 things there. And it would be great as you begin to tell your story more and more, as you start to work more with people. I would have been interested in hearing, like, let's say, reduced anxieties, let's say uplifted mood and brought a sense of joy. It'd be awesome if you said, I'll give you an example. Just 3 weeks ago, I was feeling very down because I just got my numbers and That day, that morning, you know, I didn't want to get on my mat. I didn't want to do NeuroSomatic Flow, but I did it. And what I did was this. And after doing it, I felt this because of the fact that I created this mantra that said, I am more than my numbers. I am me, you know, whatever you know, if that happened, of course, to kind of pepper your personal experience with some stories. Of course, you don't want to share too much because it's your private information, but people are so interested in sort of the before and after story.
Yeah, so even
Mhm.
like saying, maybe a year ago, if I were in this situation, this is how I would have handled it or not handled it. Or
Okay.
this is how I would have navigated it. And then now a year later, having done this practice for 6 months or however long, this is how I handle it. And it's, much easier. And yeah, just that before and after.
Yeah. And at some point
Okay.
in time, when you start to work with people in this, and of course, as you progress and maybe become a NaiAsa Institute coach, so you can properly handle things in case someone goes down a path, not a physical thing, but more an emotional unlocking that you need to coach them through. You're going to start to think about certain prescriptions that people might come up with, where you incorporate, oh, you're having a self-talk and going to a path of you're feeling worthless. Well, geez, I have this prescription that I did when I went through that path, that
Okay.
and a prescription like, say this to yourself, do this poi movement and say this to yourself. This has actually helped me when I went through the same anxiety that you're going through right now.
Okay.
So
No, I think that's great.
yeah, those are what we call our prescriptions. And of course,
Okay.
Maple, as you're hearing this is something that you'll want to learn as well. Because this is stuff that in your one-on-ones, you've probably seen Jinju do that with you. Well, she's actually giving you a prescription using NeuroSomatic Flow. And since you're going to be going into your own field of CF, it's something that with your expertise, as you having CF yourself, you'll be able to give a prescription with a lot of credibility.
Yeah,
Nice.
so true.
No, I think that's beautiful.
Yeah.
Thank you for that.
So, anyway, overall, great work. Your paper was awesome. Thank you for sharing.
Wait, did anyone else have any
Sorry,
questions?
Maple. Yeah, sorry, Maple. Or Pretty. If you guys had any questions.
Just jump in if you do. But yes. I think Noah was just about to say, excellent job.
Yeah, excellent work. Excellent work.
Job. And wow, it's just really amazing. It's so exciting for us. It's been really emotional in a really positive way to witness your journey and your transformation inside of this, and just the beauty of that, just how everything had to connect for you to end up in the training, right? And for us to be in this moment, and then what will ripple out from here is just something to be in absolute awe and gratitude of. And so I thank you, I bow to you, I appreciate you, I honor you, and yeah, just thank you so much. Congratulations.
Thank you so much. It's been so amazing and so beneficial and just mind-blowing, I will say, on so many different levels. I mean, emotionally and physically, and just the support as well. So thank you.